pounds, 2 non-runners, 5 Goodwood Mirage and 16 Eagle Rock. One last year, of course, by Del Arca, and a couple of years ago, one by Alofi, who is back for another crack. One is Vaniteux for Barry Geraghty and Nicky Henderson. Neither one of them have ever won this race before. 2 Blue Heron, 3 Garde, Victoire, 4 Roman Flight, 5 Doesn't Go. 6 is Baltimore Rock for Tom Skidmore and David Pipe, last year's winning combination. 7 Pearl Swan, 1 of 2 in the race for Paul Nicholls. 8 Midjar, 1 of 2 in the race for John Ferguson. Cat Gary also for Paul Nicholls. Pine Creek also for John Ferguson. Alofi, who won the race 2 years ago for Tom George and Paddy Brennan. 12 Badder Daddy. 13 Ravens Tower, 14 the Inform Exitas, 15 Regal Encore, 16 Doesn't Go, and 17 the bottom weight Clondaw Warrior. Let's take a look at Vaniteux first of all. His form is strong. His very best form. What sort of chance does he have?
Well, David Pipes won 2 handicap hurdles with horses from Monster Layoff, so it can be done in this type of race. Again, it goes back a fair way for this horse. He ran a screamer when he fell at the last in the Triumph Hurdle, but last time we saw him, he just didn't fire at all in that Betfair Hurdle at Newbury. So it's a reasonably tall order, and as Jim's touched on, you've got to get past some either very progressive or very well handicapped horses to win this.
Rishi, I think there's a really important point if you had a punt at home here. With Eagle Rock defecting this morning, pace, Graham, I think is a big worry here. What do you think will make it?
Perhaps Blue Heron, but Paddy Power yesterday, we expected a really solid gallop, and by big handicap standards, it was a very tepid pace, and that affects the shape of a race. It's difficult enough, this race, without worrying too much about the pace, but maybe top and bottom are the interesting ones, along with Exitas.
Tremendous crowd every day of this open meeting. Our good friend Sam Thomas. His dark horse, by the way, runs in the last race today here, the bumper.
Always Lion.
Always Lion. Just a quick word on the Pine Creek and Midjar, the Ferguson horses.
Stable going really well. Both been very capable horses, certainly in Midjar's case on the level. There'd be 1 or 2 others I prefer. This is interesting, Jim. Looks like Garde Victoire might be one of the front runners. Jumping has been an issue for him once or twice in the past. How do you expect Exitas to be ridden? He's on the right of the picture there.
Well, he is usually held up, but I would have thought a decent pace would suit him. I mean, it's the ground and the way he won last week at Sandown. If he's in that sort of form, he'd be very hard to beat.
Winners?
I haven't had a bet here, Rishi, but Nicky Henderson summed his situation up very clearly. If it's not Vaniteux for the Champion Hurdle without my tent this year, it might not be anything, so it's a big day for him.
I was sitting at home last Sunday watching Sandown, and I backed Exitas, having watched that replay. I've saved me money on Clondaw Warrior.
Yeah, I like Vaniteux. Simon, all yours.
And they're making their way towards the tape. And haven't the starts been working well? New procedures in the last month or two, and they've been working very well at this meeting. Just wondered when the big handicaps came along whether the riders would be as controlled. Of course, the big test will be at the Grand National meeting and here at the festival in March, but none of these want to make it. The tape is up, and as we feared, no front runner, no one intent on making the running. It is Richard Johnson that goes on Garde Victoire from Pearl Swan, and these valuable handicap hurdles are usually run at a blistering pace, but not this version of the StanJames.com Greatwood hurdle. Over the first, Garde Victoire from Pearl Swan. Exitas is towards the outside in the white, green hoops on the body, black cap. Close up in third is Baradari, then Pine Creek in the black jacket just behind the leaders. Raven's Tower in black with the scarlet hoops on the sleeves. Roman Flight, Vaniteux in grey with white epaulets in the midfield at the moment. Further back then is Clondaw Warrior on the near side of Blue Heron. Cat Gary is one of the back markers with Mishar, the grey Alofi, as they rather crawl towards the second flight, and Garde Victoire landing just ahead as they're about to pass the stands. From going into second now is Pearl Swan under Sam Twiston-Davis. Then Baradari, Raven's Tower, Roman Flight, Vaniteux and Pine Creek. Another length and a half in the midfield back to Clondaw Warrior, Blue Heron and Exitas. Baltimore Rock. It looks as though Tom Skidmore trying to take a bit closer order, and certainly in slow run races you don't want to be too far behind. Clondaw Warrior is towards the outside. Just outside him is Alofi, and then out towards the back of the field Mishar, Cat Gary and Regal Encore is last of all. Heading into the back straight Garde La Victoire taken on by Pearl Swan, but the pace still looks very modest indeed. Baradari and Raven's Tower disputing third over that flight, followed by Roman Flight and Vaniteux. Heading down the back, and Garde La Victoire by a head to Pearl Swan, Baradari, Raven's Tower, Roman Flight, red sleeves next, Vaniteux in the grey jacket, black jacketed Pine Creek, then Clondaw Warrior, black cap on the near side, Exitas, then Blue Heron, Baltimore Rock, further back Alofi, Cat Gary, Regal Encore, still one of those out the back of the field along with Mijhar. Continuing on the far side over the next flight of hurdles, and now the pace is increasing quite significantly. Mijhar made a mistake there towards the back, and almost three in a line now with Garde La Victoire outside, Pearl Swan and Baradari. Raven's Tower remains close up in fourth from Roman Flight, then Vaniteux on the inside of Clondaw Warrior. Pine Creek out wide is Alofi, Baltimore Rock is just behind these as they head towards the fourth last. Jumping at speed now, good jump from Pearl Swan there, who goes on with Garde La Victoire. Sam Twiston Davis on the inside of Richard Johnson, two of the most successful riders at this meeting. Vaniteux, Barry Geraghty on the inside in the grey jacket, just in about 6th or 7th place there. Barry looking for a treble today as they reach the top of the hill in the Greatwood, and it's Pearl Swan from Garde La Victoire, then Pine Creek on the outside of Raven's Tower, followed by Roman Flight. Baradari's behind these, then after those is Clondaw Warrior with every chance. Alofi, Vaniteux up the inside, a wide open race as they now race on towards the second last. So Vaniteux on the extreme right, in the cheap pieces towards the left is still Pearl Swan. Roman Flight coming there on the extreme left, Garde La Victoire. Blue Heron is tracking Vaniteux as they jump the second last, and Raven's Tower coming through as well. Garde La Victoire, Raven's Tower, Vaniteux around the inside as they head towards the final turn. Alofi close up with Pine Creek, and then in behind these then is Baltimore Rock coming through in the light blue jacket under Tom Scudamore. Vaniteux sticking to the far side out wide. Garde La Victoire with Clondaw Warrior coming through the challenge. It was Garde La Victoire from Clondaw Warrior. Vaniteux under his big weight third. Then back in fourth is Pine Creek as they race up the hill. Garde La Victoire, Richard Johnson for Philip Hobbs again. Vaniteux battling on well on the far side, and Clondaw Warrior under the rail. But Garde La Victoire looks like completing a memorable open meeting for Messrs Hobbs and Johnson. Garde La Victoire wins the Greatwood hurdle from Vaniteux, big run second, Clondaw Warrior third, Blue Heron, Pine Creek fifth, sixth was Exitas, then Mijhar and Alofi, Roman Flight, Baltimore Rock, further back was Cat Gary, Regal Encore, Baradari well beaten, and so too in the end Raven's Tower right out the back, and Pearl Swan was pulled up, fading dramatically. Garde La Victoire, Richard Johnson makes it a six-timer at the meeting for Philip Hobbs. Bold Henry, Champagne West, Balthazar King, Golden Doyen, Dunraven Storm, and Garde La Victoire. What a week for the team from Minehead.
Well, they've only gone and done it again. Everything they touched turning to gold. Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson, their confidence was minimal in this horse's chance on account of the ground, but Richard Johnson was alive to the lack of pace in this race when the tapes went up and no one wanted to go on, and he immediately adopted a prominent position. Only he and Sam Twiston Davis, who rode Pearl Swan, did so, and he has been well rewarded. But let this not detract from the innate talent of this horse, Garde La Victoire, who still is far from the finished article, and he's a very, very good horse indeed, and he's beaten a very well handicapped horse in Clondaw Warrior. Vaniteux running a good race under his big weight. Let's join Mick Fitzgerald, who's catching up with an old friend.